What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video. And I put out a short one today. Do me a favor, go watch it, share it with your friends, help get that information out to people. It makes the average angler look good. And I'm quite sure you will not regret getting some of those if you do. All right, if you're new to the channel, you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button down below. Join us here at the Average Angler community. When we hit 5,000 subscribers, we're going to have a big bait giveaway. And I've got several people, viewers, longtime viewers, that are actually sending stuff to me to add to the giveaway. So I am looking for this to be something very special. And I heard that the Coyote is going to be included in that. I don't know about that, because then I got to use a big box for shipping and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, really appreciate you guys, your loyalty, your continuing to watch this and that. So today I'm going to give up some information that's really, really good for this time of year. And we're going to talk about a very popular bait. And I'm also going to add in a not as popular bait, but at one time it was, and probably more popular than the first one I'm going to talk about. Okay, and the first one I'm going to talk about is the good old chatterbait. Talking to a friend of mine last night. He went up to practice on the lake. We have the tournament on this coming weekend. And we were just chit-chatting about what he saw, what he found, all that kind of stuff. He told me the baits he caught him on, this and that. So I don't want to go over too much of that information. That's private. But I do want to help you guys catch fish. And that's always the goal here on the Average Angler channel, right? The idea is for everybody to catch more fish. So I'm going to give you a bit of juice here when it comes to catching more fish, okay? I know the chatterbait, because I read comments. I read and respond to all of my comments. And I watch a lot of other stuff too. I'm an information junkie. I like listening and watching videos for information. Videos, podcasts, you name it. The average angler is paying attention, okay? I do a lot of driving in my job, so I will put stuff on and I'll listen to it as I drive. Much better than listening to commercials on radio and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I digress. When fishing a chatterbait, and it doesn't matter what type, right? I did the OSP the other day, talked to you guys about that. This is that OSP. And this stands for all of them. This is a, I don't know what they call it. Is it the Mini? Mini Max? I don't know. Anyway, it's just a downsized chatterbait. Then you have, there we go. This one is a copperhead made by First Gen. It's a great alternative chatterbait. You don't really save money, but they do have something that you're not going to get anywhere else. The copperhead, kind of self-explanatory. It gives you a different sound. And when we're talking about chatterbaits, it's really, at times, guys, you can chunk and wind it, just cast it and retrieve it, and you're going to get bit. There are times when you can do that. This time of year, I have not found that to be true. Okay, I've always had to do something with the bait to get the fish to react. Once you know that, and you start doing it, you start to see the power of the chatterbait. Now, for me, this time of year, on certain bodies of water, it's nothing but a big fish bait. Most of the time, I can't get smaller ones to eat it, which is fine by me. When an 8-pounder is eating it, you kind of forget about all the smaller ones anyway. But it's about imparting some action to the bait. Something a little additional than just retrieving it. You want to retrieve the bait, but I want you to come up with something to do to the bait that alters the retrieve or what that bait's doing. So this can be any number of things. You can reel faster and then stop. You can reel slower and then speed up. You can jerk your rod tip like a jerk bait. You know, those guys that have been watching the channel for a long time, that's something that I talk about all the time. Do the little, I forgot what I called it. One day I was feeling happy and I freaking came up with a name for it. But it's just a little jerk. Okay, very much like a jerk bait. And what happens when you do that little jerk, or if you burn a couple retrieves on your reel, real fast, when you've been going slow, it will make that bait jump to the side and dart. So it's basically darting out and then stalling out and then going again. That's why I like the jerk part, okay? You're not jerking it like you're trying to set a hook or nothing. You're doing like a little light jerk bait twitch of the tip. So part of that is being absorbed by the rod as it's loading, and then when you give back to it, it's stalling out. That bait has a chance to shoot off to one side or another. And if you do it twice, it'll go one side and then to the other. It's really cool. Do it close to the boat. Take a look so you kind of have an image of what that bait is doing. Now, as far as trailers for doing this, I think it's really best to have something that's not going to interfere. So, you know, a spunk shad, any sort of fluke style bait could be on there. Hey, even that new Phat Pak's cross minnow. That one I just showed you was the 5.2 inch, which is the one I'm most excited about. But you can use any number of baits. It just depends on the profile you're trying to go after. And then I like that straight tail because it's not interfering with the action I'm putting into the bait, which for me is the trigger to get those fish to bite. All right, now in the beginning of this, I talked about another bait. Some of you guys might have an idea what that is. I don't know. Do you? Take a minute and think about it. Drop it in the comments if you know what that second bait is. So I bring that up because back when I was coming up through the fishing ranks and learning things and gaining some knowledge, and I can't even begin to tell you how narrow my mind was back when I started and how little I knew about all the different types of baits. But this was one of those baits that almost everybody knew about, and that is the good old spinnerbait. Okay? The original blade bait, if you will. And I think what really shut down the whole spinnerbait bite, nothing shut it down, guys. It still works very well. The Chatterbait came out, and it was all the rage and all the hype. You had Brian Thrift winning a bunch of tournaments on it. It seemed like almost every week. Then Brett Height went from the East Coast to the West Coast, winning on the East, coming out here, winning on the West, all on the Chatterbait. So a lot of hype, and deservedly so. The bait is phenomenal. The spinnerbait is still phenomenal. It's just a little different presentation, different vibration, right? And it's very easy for us to change the vibration based on blades, shape, sizes, colors, all of that kind of stuff, right? So spinnerbaits are often overlooked since the chatterbait came to market, became all the rage. The spinnerbait has not. That spinnerbait bite hasn't changed, okay? Maybe because of the chatterbait, it's not as prevalent as it once was. In the spring, the spinnerbait used to be phenomenal. Slow rolling a spinnerbait. Well, the chatterbait's kind of taken over that end of the market. The one time a year that I do not foresee ever being taken over by the chatterbait is the fall, okay? Those blades are just too close to a shad, right? And you got, I mean, I talked about different stuff. You see here, we have some really big blades, and this is just a Bass Pro Shop spinnerbait. It's a great thing about spinnerbaits is, again, like I said, blade sizes, blade colors, blade types. It really varies. Here you see a really big one. When would I want to use this? When you have big bait, right? If you're around big bait. This is one you probably, most of you anyway, have never seen. This is a Mullix spinnerbait. And actually, I don't even know if there's anyone around in the country that still sells Mullix spinnerbaits. But I will tell you, they make a great spinnerbait. Okay, here's the packaging. They have all kinds. The components are very good. I have a lot of success on them. You see the detail in the heads. I don't know what the active or current prices are, if you will. Back in the day, they were, I would say, pretty darn close, if not JDM quality. about as close as you can get with not being JDM quality, but I would say they probably are, but they were substantially less. Mullets is not as popular of a company here, but doesn't mean they don't make great baits. They do. That spinnerbait is phenomenal. That said, you don't have to go looking far to find a good spinnerbait, okay? There's lots of good spinnerbaits. I even like this Berkeley. Okay, the Berkeley half-ounce compact spinnerbait's a great one. When I am really getting after it and I got money on the line, I love these rod strainers. Okay, this is a local builder. So they come in all kinds of different designs and collaborations or what have you. Here you see, the big thing I want to point out is the Z-bend on the wire here. Keeps the bait very, very compact. Lots of great yet subtle colors, right? This one's called Magic Dragonfly. You guys see the dragonflies hanging around the water certain times of year? That's where that came from, okay? We have them on the Delta all the time. That's why, and he's local. This one is Sexy Shad. His address is on the front of these. I don't think you can go by his house, but you can get these. Coyote Bait Tackle. I'll put a link. Tackle Warehouse has some rod strainer stuff as well. Great product, very well built, all hand tied. Huge assortment of options and choices. You really can't go wrong. But you can go into any local tackle shop and find a wide assortment of spinnerbaits. And this is actually what I recommend doing. Go to the local tackle shop and see what brands they're selling. They're not going to have something in there that they're not moving and selling. And if it's moving and selling, it's because it works there. You don't need to overthink the spinnerbait. Okay? Very much like a chatterbait, except quite honestly, I think in the fall, especially when those fish are getting up and they're chasing shad. They're getting up shallow, they're chasing shad. Maybe they don't want to top water. You got a windy day. That's the best time to fish a spinnerbait. They are going to, this is a bait fish minnow presentation. When you're reeling this in, that skirt really compacts itself. You're getting a lot of flash from the blades, attracts a lot of attention. And when you got fish feeding on a school of bait, you need to do something to differentiate and draw them to strike your bait rather than the thousands of shad that are swimming around in the area. So this is where I'm going to give you the juice again. And if you stayed around this long, you deserve a little juice. First of all, certain spinnerbaits, like this one, like the rod strainer also. See the longer strands? Okay, you don't have to use a trailer on these. I do like to use a trailer because I feel like it gives that bait a little bit more to kind of adjust the level or depth at which you're fishing, okay? You can add trailer. I like to use on a spinnerbait, I like to use a curly tail grub. I also like to use the good old freaking spunk shad. Sorry, you guys probably can't see that as well as I'd hope, but I don't want to waste your time taking it out of the package. You know what it is. We use the same thing on a chatterbait. I'm going to do the same thing action-wise with the spinnerbait, except I'm typically going to do it with the reel. Okay, it's a little bit more sensitive to movement and input than the chatterbait is, and you can do a lot of it just with the reel. Okay, start, stop, speed up, all that kind of stuff. Make that thing do a little bit more. Because we have those blades that are spinning, everything you do is going to change the action of that bait. Okay, and you want these movements to, so let me put it this way. When we are retrieving the bait steady, we're trying to pick up some followers. Fish are curious and they're opportunistic. When we have a follower, we want to convert it to a biter. That's when we want to do something to change it. Do something to force that fish to react and eat your bait. Okay? A lot of times I like to speed up and stop. Sudden, right? 1-2 rotations of the reel fast, kill it. It's going to make it jump, and then it's going to make it stop and descend. And the whole time those blades spin, they're just going to spin different. Add a little action to your chatterbait and your spinnerbait this time of year, and don't sleep on that spinnerbait in the fall. I'm telling you guys, it can be a phenomenal option, actually perhaps the better option a lot of times, to a chatterbait in the fall. We have lots of tools in our toolbox, guys. We got to know when to pull out what. And a spinnerbait is phenomenal. It will get you bites when the water's flat calm. It's best when you have some wind, okay? Break up that water surface. You get a lot more flash off the blades, this and that. And it just, that's where it really shines. So if you got a windy day this fall and you're out fishing, give a spinnerbait a try. Otherwise, the good old trusty chatterbait's always there for us. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. We'll see you on the next one.